Going good. Here we go, guys. No stalling today. All right. Welcome, everyone. Happy Wine Wednesday to you. Hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday so far. As always, as soon as you jump in, let me know how the audio's going for you today. We always have to work on that every week. But I have Holly with me already, a newcomer. Really excited about that. And if she has something specific to ask or talk about, we'll of course jump into that. But today's topic, we decided, was feeding seahorses. And so we're going to try to do this in a little more logical type, structured environment. But first, to start off, I'm doing the menage a trois again. It's one of my favorites now, guys. For an inexpensive wine, it really works. But as always, everyone knows you don't have to be drinking wine to come. You can come drinking water. Just come. Feel free in the comments to give us any questions that you have as we're talking, and so on and so forth. You know the drill if you've been here before. And I will try to be checking the group's questions this time, because I figured out last week that the questions from YouTube I see, the questions from Seahorse Whisperer Society page I see, but the questions from the group, unless I'm looking at it, I don't see. So we're going to work on that today. Hopefully we'll have some more joiners soon, Ray and Dan and Cheryl, whoever else jumps in. But Miss Holly, do you want to tell me really quick anything about you, or are you just joining for the fun of it, or?
Well, this is my first time, so just kind of wanted to see what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Northern California. It's really hot here right now. So my biggest fight right now is keeping my tank cool enough.
Ooh, we are going to talk food today, guys. But I'm curious, Holly. So obviously, when it's hot outside, it's a lot harder to keep your tank cool for seahorses. What have you tried? What's worked for you?
Honestly, what I'm doing right now, I have two desktop fans with clips clipped to the hood of my tank, so it's blowing on the water.
Sure.
It generally keeps the water lower by about 5 or 6 degrees.
Nice. Have
And
you?
I'll add, if it gets real hot, when it starts to get closer to 80, I'll throw in those ice packs that you can get for ice chests. I put them inside of a Ziploc bag, to keep them leak free, and float them in the tank.
Hey, whatever works. The
Because I
one
can't afford a chiller. I've looked at them, and I don't have that kind of budget right now.
I was gonna say, most people don't. I don't have a chiller on a single one of my aquariums. I have a different trick where I have extremely good central air. I also don't live in an area where it would cost me a ton to keep the air stable. Um, I think somebody just.
Gotcha.
But either way, what everything you just mentioned is excellent advice, because you just got to do whatever you can. The fans are great. I've heard Cheryl talk about that a lot, and I think when it comes to temperature, we talk all the time about how temperature is so important, but the thing that's really
Mhm.
important, I think, is stability. Keeping that tank stable, the temperature even versus swinging. So as long as you're keeping it stable, I think you're doing a good job. I wish I was in a warmer climate, so
So right now, right now it's running the lowest it'll get is probably around 72-ish,
mhm.
in the very early morning, but it'll get up to like maybe 76-ish in the
For
afternoon,
yeah. So
or
for
77 it hit the other day.
well, how long have you had the seahorses?
This is their first summer with me here.
But it's been okay.
Yeah, I've had them about a year. I got them, I think like around into the summer last year. So this is the first heat they've seen here.
Gotcha.
And I've kept seahorses in the past many years ago, and I never had issues with heat because I didn't know it was an issue back then.
Right. But I mean, if you didn't have
Now,
an it,
now,
sorry.
yeah, now I'm keeping seahorses at lower temperatures than I ever did before.
Sure. Well, you know what?
Because back in
Sorry.
I mean, the 80s and 90s, they didn't really talk about that much.
Yep. The more we learn as we progress, the easier we can make things. But I'm a firm believer in if what you're doing is
Mhm.
working, then keep working it. If problems arise, then that's a different
So far, it's the
situation.
best I can do.
Well, we definitely want you to
Yeah,
keep.
the AC is
Sorry.
expensive here. We're like over 100 degrees, outside in my area. So to keep the house like around 80, it'd be real expensive.
Gotcha. I can't even imagine, and I get it. So that's why I'm interested when new people join in and describe what's working for them, because we all have different situations and we have different seahorses and our
Mhm.
aquariums are different. So definitely keep us updated. Hopefully, as more people join, we'll jump back into that topic. And see what others have to say about that, and definitely keep us updated as it goes. But I did want to talk. Start off, guys. I'm trying to be more organized. I got my notepad here. But again, as we jump in, if people have other questions, or anybody jumps in and wants to um, give Holly some feedback on her talk about temperature, we're game. This is Wine Wednesday. We talk about what's up. But I did want to kind of talk about feeding, just because that's the topic I claimed for the day, and kind of discuss, the range of things, not just Ray's here. Welcome, Ray. We're glad to have you. And Ray is, of course, going to talk and give us excellent advice about his feeding regimen. But let's just start at the very beginning, make it kind of sensible for somebody to watch through, and say, what do seahorses eat? Period. Like what foods do they eat, Ray? I don't know if Ray can hear me.
Uh, yeah, I hear you. You
Okay.
hear me?
I do. I hear you just fine. And I just wanted to start with a general question. When you
Well, I
want,
lost.
did you lose me? We sometimes have technical
I've
difficulties.
lost it.
Mm. Okay, well, I'm going to answer then, because this might be just me, guys, answering my own questions, which would be fine. But this way, you guys can jump in and say what you think also. Or Holly, what's your general understanding of what seahorses eat?
Well, I'm feeding mine frozen mysis shrimp,
Yeah.
and I use a turkey baster. They have a feeding dish, and they have a feeding time in the morning and one in the afternoon. And then if I'm around and I see them go to the dish, that means they want some food, and I'll put some in it for them.
Now, see, I'll just say,
They tell me, yeah,
if I did that with my
they're
seahorse,
easy.
but if I did that with my seahorses, they would probably explode from food, because my seahorses, anytime they see me, they come right to the front glass and want more. So we're gonna talk in a
They
sec.
tend to do that.
We're gonna talk in a second about how you determine how much is too much or not enough. Ray's great on that, so hopefully he can get back in here and figure out how to get with this. But I just wanted to cover very quickly that seahorses in general eat any kind of like crustaceans and things like that. So mysis shrimp is of course correct. They eat all sorts of things in the wild, but when we're talking about captive bred seahorses, your staple diet is going to be mysis shrimp. And yes, as Holly pointed out, frozen is the way to go. Live foods are always going to have more nutrition, but if you are not propagating them yourself, or if you're not in an area where collection is in clean water and you're not as worried about diseases from collection, frozen is just the easiest way to feed captive bred seahorses. And the cool part is that with captive bred seahorses, you'll get them in already eating frozen foods, because one of the things that, as we were talking earlier, people in the 80s and such, they had a lot of different things they had to do because they were typically getting wild caught seahorses, and so those seahorses would not eat frozen foods, and you had to go through the whole weaning process, and it was a mess. So today we're just so lucky that we can get captive bred seahorses that eat frozen food off the bat. But it's just a quick little
I
spiel.
rem-
Go ahead. Oh, I thought someone was saying something.
as
Just
I
a
say, I remember those days.
You do? Now see, yeah, and we're gonna at the very end.
Dude, I used to feed seahorses and have to feed them live shrimp.
Right. And guys, when you hear if you
Wait a
hear
minute.
if you hear me accidentally interrupt Holly, it's because there's like a 30-second delay. So I need to get better about, sorry, Holly, I need to get better about not interrupting. And,
That's okay.
yeah, we just got to kind of take turns. But anyhow, and that's on me, I'm saying that. But anyhow, just wanted to touch base because in the Seahorse Sources group, they're in the files section. Tammy Wise had made two really fantastic articles, and that, like I said, they're now in the files section, and they discuss what to look for in frozen foods. So you can always go there and read in depth about them. But for instance, I'll just go back to Holly because I don't know if Ray's audio's working yet. But Holly, when you go to buy frozen foods, is there anything that you look for or make sure of or anything like that?
Where I live, I only have one source. I'm from, if you guys, I don't know if you've heard of Paradise, California, the town that burned down a couple years ago.
Oh, geez.
That's where I'm from. So there's no stores where I live. I live out in the woods. And so I have one pet store about 45 minutes away that has saltwater, fish. So they carry the frozen PC mysis shrimp. So I get it from them.
Well,
Otherwise, I'd have to do mail order, which costs a lot, but I would do it if I had to.
Sure. And I was just going to add on to that. Perfect answer. And with mail order, a lot of times I've never had luck with getting frozen foods mailed to me because they aren't usually frozen by the time they get to me. And I'll just quickly run through.
That's what I'd be worried about.
Absolutely. And I'll give Ray a chance to comment too, but I just wanted to quickly count off the things that I look for when I go to buy frozen foods. I'm not a stickler about the brand because, as Holly was just saying, sometimes where you live, you can only get a certain kind. PE Mysis and Hikari are probably the best brands, but sometimes I have to get a Mega One or whatever. And there are many sources. So I don't technically look for brand unless there's a brand I really like. But I do look at the color of the mysis shrimp because they should be white, not brown. I look to see if the package looks as if it's been refrozen because, as I just said, I don't like to get it sent to me directly because they thaw and refreeze, which allows bacteria to grow. And again, that article in the file section of Seahorse Sources group covers this in depth. But I'm just telling you what I do. So I make sure it's still not been refrozen. I make sure